Hello and welcome. This is the Daily Dharma. My name is Dina. Thank you so much for joining. This is going to be a reading about the energetic climate right now at the time that you're tuning in. All messages are intended to be timeless, but with some of the pre-shuffle messages that I am going to share just because they came out are somewhat regarding the actual time and space that I'm recording, such as potentially for many of us, the US presidential election. I already uploaded some predictions, and based on some current events and happenings that are evolving even now, as current as a day ago, some of those predictions are already seeming to hold some type of weight. So if you're interested, check that out. Not to put any bias out, I'm going to go ahead and read just a couple of these pre-shuffle messages for you guys. The main message is to relax and trust the process, that no matter what ends up becoming, that there is a master plan behind the scenes, even when we can't necessarily understand why things are necessary. As we flow with it and do what we can, then also there's this balancing energy of trusting the process, allowing yourself to continue to be a creative co-creator with the element of creation of joy. So there's a need to also be gentle with opposing viewpoints at this time. So let's get into it. Number 73 came off from the mixed Tao Te Ching and Art of War deck. 73 reads, "The Tao is always at ease. It overcomes without competing, answers without speaking a word, arrives without being summoned, accomplishes without a plan. Its net covers the whole universe, and though its meshes are wide, it doesn't let a thing slip through." So all of this is the message at 222 on the timer of trusting that we don't need to stand and preach when we know something is the truth necessarily, right? And so many of us are wanting to trust things without needing to fight for them. But I think that the opposite has been a fear of people, that if we don't say something, that things are going to go awry. And so people are speaking louder with each other, right in each other's face. Like I'm seeing this depiction in the movies of the people that are speaking a different language than the person that they're speaking to, but instead of actually understanding that no matter how loudly they talk, they just raise their volume and are just talking in the face of the foreigner. And that's kind of like when we're preaching something that doesn't abide with somebody's resonance, we're just wasting our breath, and that's a misuse of our energy. So we need to trust in this moment that everyone is going to do what's right for them and to stay in our own lane. On either side of the deck, we have argue with respect. If both parties can remain respectful of one another during an argument, then the resolution will be something worth having. A serious argument can end in the destruction of a relationship, leaving devastation for both the quote defeated and the quote conqueror. An authentic victory is a victory over aggression, one that respects the enemy and renders further conflict unnecessary. So agree to disagree in some manner, and don't take other people's personal choices personal against your own. Number 61 is on the back of the deck. When a country obtains great power, it becomes like the sea. All streams run downward into it. The more powerful it grows, the greater the need for humility. Humility means trusting the Tao, thus never needing to be defensive. A great nation is like a great man or woman. When he makes a mistake, he realizes it, Having realized it, he admits it. Having admitted it, he corrects it. He considers those who point out his faults as his most benevolent teachers. He thinks of his enemy as the shadow that he himself casts. If a nation is centered in the Tao, if it nourishes its own people and doesn't meddle in the affairs of others, it will be a light to all nations in the world. So there's something here about respecting sovereignty of choice and belief of other individuals, not meddling in the affairs of others. So the other points that I am wanting to point out here is like the never needing to be defensive, because the truth doesn't necessarily need to be defended. It can and should stand for itself. And we need to trust that individuals are going to be aware of what they need to be aware of without fighting for it, because that can be just as off-putting, because then we're in the energy of guardedness, and that is effectively holding tension in the field. And therefore the law of resonant vibration says that we're going to call things to us to struggle with, to misunderstand, to get upset about, to have conflict and drama energy about, or to repeat it forward. And that's the energy that then we're immersed in. So the need to be defensive is pitting yourself against things that are by their nature sort of meant to be divinely in your opposition. So instead of talking to your haters, speaking to those that understand you, working towards synergy energy is really what we're being called to do here, with more humility, that we have nothing to prove. So there's nothing to make others believe or do or behave like from any side that could be represented in any situation. And then the great man or great nation, when they make a mistake, they correct the mistake. And then there's this need for accountability and correction, and people who can accept that their faults are being called out and not being defensive or venomous or beyond defensive, but aggressive against people that point things out. So if we can, in our own energy, accept and understand the extent to which that is relevant in our own energy, how over time, and I don't mean to trigger anybody, but whenever anyone immerses in any type of conflict energy, however intense, however traumatic or not, the energy there is holding up both sides of the coin, I want to say. And so those that understand this, I think, are the ones that are understanding that they need to self-correct their own perpetual feeding into drama cycles in their own life. And when we reclaim the energy from conflict, we've made a powerful stance and declaration in the momentum side of freedom, true freedom, because we're liberating ourselves, having admitted it and corrected it. Then we can see the shadow that we're boxing against is the one in the mirror. And so the Tao is always easy, though. So being gentle with the self, answering without speaking a word. We don't need to come back at these individuals. We can just say, well, I'll agree to disagree. Thank you. Bye-bye type of a thing. We don't need to arrive at every argument we're summoned to. We can accomplish it without holding any type of strategic planning or tactical, having all the receipts and bullet points. It's like, because, yeah, it's not our business in a lot of ways. Maybe some people it is actually literally your business, but I think that the messages are speaking for themselves. So the Kali Kuan Yin cards here are talking again, as I said, the need to let things kind of flow, to trust the process. So where do I want to begin? The two that came out are number 6 from the Kali deck, a very intense, ferocious energy, Tromanagmo. Get a look at that one. Very fiery, very aggressive. That bowl is meant to be the tongues of her enemies. So it's somebody who has an energy or an urge or some type of justified tactical mental game and strategic talking points, that they are able to shut down the enemies, that they've already been proactive. It's like the football coach doing the plays, making the play board and stuff. And so Tromanagmo here is very protective and defensive. We had that word defensive. So Tromanagmo here is, since it's a Kali card, asking us to step through the shadow. What is that? Stepping through the shadow. It's what is it? Is it 68 and 2? 64 and 2? Oh my gosh. The Tool song about the DNA and how many we have versus the evolutionary step. There's this lyric, it's part of the chorus, something about stepping through my shadow, 46 and 2 ahead of me. That's the name of the song, 46 and 2. It's amazing. Look up the lyrics if you're not familiar. But it's something about somebody really wanting to get to the depths of their own shadow. And that's the power that Kali brings, is to have all of this capacity, but to harness that fiery ferociousness in the divine realms of compassion, radiant moon of compassion, the holding and containment of all this brilliant fiery energy becomes the kundalini energy that is harnessed and makes one wise and radiant and relaxed, because we fight when we think that we have to win, which is hierarchy. But when we accept and flow, I always hear the pushback from the people. Everything is true and not true in the Tao. And that's why when I channel, I can go back and forth, because it is and it isn't true. So don't shoot the messenger, I guess. But it's a softening of that ferocity and harnessing that and stepping through our own shadow to be what we to not be a hypocrite and to be a builder with those energies in some way. So there's a need to become more gentle in this energy, not to hide this energy, but to harness it, not having aggressive power over another, but to hold such power and sovereignty over oneself. Then the next 3 that come out here, then there's 3 under the deck that I'll just talk about first. Here, the yellow tiger mother is a push of a surge of solar plexus energy and being able to hear that primal gut instinct that is so triggered that that is the fire coming up. And it's like you hear very instinctually, intuitively, some message here below that nectar of the lotus and enter the jade temple, separated by some number of cards in between, talking about the ability to soften the energy through self-care, through understanding and awakening and conscious integration with this shadow realm. It's like this whole thing is about hearing that energy and being somebody who works with those energies proactively and very ferociously. I was thinking about this and I wasn't going to bring this in, but yesterday I had an opportunity. We had a dog in the yard. It seemed to be a threat to my birds, and one of my gut instincts was to get really loud. And that's, I also in martial arts, often when I'm sparring, or when I feel defensive, one of my subconscious, semi-conscious behaviors is to is to puff up my energy beyond what most people would probably expect from me. It's like I can be massive in my energy, and I can be so charged energetically that I do believe that I don't understand the power that I'm wielding in those moments because of parts of the shadow. And so then after the moment passes, the consciousness raises back up. The fear process brings it down, and the retribution seems to be justified and righteous. And then afterwards, when there's this reflection moment, it's like, but was it the most effective, right? I was yelling at the neighbor's dog. It was chasing not my bird, but first a deer, had it cornered. I was like, get out of here, get out of here. And it finally left, and it went straight into my coop. And so I'm yelling. And then the neighbor finally comes over to get his dog. And I'm like, I'm sorry I yelled, but I was so fearful. And, here I am recognizing that my dog has also become loose. And I don't know what he's done. Maybe he's made somebody else fearful or chased a cat. He's not a cat chaser anyways, but it's those moments that feel like the lesson has been learned so many times that then in the moment it's not as it's like, for me, my chickens and my birds are like my children. I know not quite, but they're extensions of my livelihood and my brood overall. And so it represents this huge offensive position being taken because of a seeming need to be defensive. It's like, yeah, I mean, nobody can come up against that energy without matching it or getting rolled over type of a thing. It's like, yeah. So the ability to conjure these inner realms is enormous for you right now when you are charged up, because the yellow tiger mother, it's like my brood, so there's a group identity potentially that is identified here that is being stood up for, or that you are feeling defensive and protective of. So Chamunda comes up with this. The headdress is a funeral pyre, and look at that creepy, weird horror nightmare fuel face there with the third eyes, but like this mask looking thing, like the Joker. It's come across many different ways in the past, but yeah, it's something that is being put to rest permanently. So there's this uprising and a need for gentleness and trusting in the process, that some type of correction is happening on the very present world stage, to trust that. I keep seeing doubles. I saw 14, 14, 18, 18, 222, 333, 444 during this broadcast. So here we have the putting an end to something for good with the dance unveiling, which is a prominent particular card for me. And it's talking about trusting the process, that not all elements of anything are known, and that if we can trust the process and get out of our own way in something, to allow it to play out and to remain in our peace, our centeredness, our empowered nature, to speak truth over a situation instead of fear over a situation, then reveals the Sisters of the Sun Rising. To me, that's a card of sisterhood, connectivity. To me, in the moment, if we're talking about the American situation, this is also talking about the feminine uprising, feminine within masculine, female, the youth, any vulnerable minority population. That's the sisterhood coming online and speaking freedom into the situation for me. And with the Chamunda, it absolutely seems that we're going to see the end to this cycle of darkness and the operation of the underworld on the world stage. And so it's like there's this banishment ritual underway, this sacred incantation happening, and we need to be aware of in what situations, even if we have to call something out, the way that we call something out is how we fuel the dream and the vibration of peace, love, and healing over a situation. So let's see, 2020. Oh my, this could go back to 2020. And to be honest, when I looked at that Shamunda card, I saw the mask from the big old plague that we dealt with. Not to make light of it, it was a big deal for many. I had my own struggles that were not related to that during that time. So I know that 2020 can reference a big, powerful turning point for many people for various reasons. So let's get a few more cards. So the archetypal deck sometimes wants to be called the ancestral deck. I'm not sure why, but we'll trust it and see what comes out. I did see lovers on the pre-shuffle. There's a few. Underneath we have the maiden, the bardo, gnosis, and the vision. That's very interesting. So here we have this very coming of age maiden. The bardo is that liminal space between like the astral realms, between death and transition, between sleep and wake, between meditation and incantation maybe. It's the feeling space that arises into something that the inner self can witness and then demonstrate correction, apology, some type of forgiveness here, speaking with integrity and trust in the process and honoring the sovereignty and the awareness of other individuals and letting them do their own thing here. So also with this vision, gnosis is the truer, deeper understanding that's coming through us and the way that we are supporting what we feel to be the right side of things. And we're holding true to a vision for the future here. And we're moving through this liminal space with power, with trust, honoring the maiden. And in this case, I feel that the maiden has many connections. We just saw some other references to the feminine, right? The sisters sun rising. I think that the young female vote is going to be incredible. I think that the inner vulnerable self, if this is nothing to do with any types of political, angsty, governmental things, it's like I feel like there's this coming of age, this feminine rising, that's a gentle uprising because people have said holy hell no to the state of something here. They understand the various visions for the future. And what's under there? That's the mirror, I believe. Underneath gnosis and vision, the mirror. Yeah, shadow boxing in the mirror. Somebody's understanding something and taking their power back with ease. And they're doing it magnetically instead of electrically, instead of diminishing and being aggressive. They're doing it more passively, not passive aggressive, but passive assertively. It's like the truth that doesn't need to be defended, just standing very firm and simple. So here we have the forest coming out with the mother. Now we have maiden mother. Do we get the crone? We have the healer, the medallion, and the judge. Okay, so there's a lot of complexity with the forest. There's a lot of obscurity. Not everything is known, especially we have that trust the process. Dance is still unveiling. But the maiden and the mother, the protectiveness, the perpetrator mentality of hate mongering and devaluing the feminine has absolutely met its end. It's being laid to rest, and it is no longer a viable option. Kelly has spoken in this regard, and there's going to be a healing. And somebody here with this medallion is reaching for that gold medal. And I feel that with the Judge, this is karma coming in, dharma coming in to create some black and white information. And I feel like it's also double entendre, meaning the prosecutor here, gaining recognition and the gold medal here. Yes, so there's a lot to unpack. You guys can make that into anything that you need it to be if it sort of resonates. Let's see, we've got a few cards coming out. Stop there. Passion under the deck. Yeah, you've been activated by something very powerful. Let's see what's here. So we have several chakras coming out. We have sacral chakra, third eye chakra, and heart chakra coming out with perception and compassion yet again. Exactly. Understanding that every person's belief structure belongs and has space, and that it comes from different levels of healing and understanding with the heart chakra, and having compassion for the wounded and the disenfranchised as well as the misinformed, and understanding that everyone's operating from a different perception. Some of these people are still under the hypnosis of the patriarchy, for instance, or something such as this, the disempowerment of the person that believes that they need somebody to lead them, a powerful leader to structure their path, instead of being able to believe in their own heart-directed, intuitive value and deserving nature to lead their own path. There's people everywhere in this. And here we have fertility and magic, the ability to be very growth oriented in our magic and in our passion, and to be able to create the outcomes that we need. Yeah, under passion is throat chakra, remembrance, delight, Merkaba, healing, and emergence. The understanding, the emergent understanding that we're really trying to invoke greater delight and truth and respect, then we need to remember ourselves and to remember our integrity in the moment. 2727 just a moment ago when I looked up. So using our passions with integrity here is a big theme. So I wanted to get into these little bit of different cards. I'm not really sure what they want to tell us, but a few of these are popping out here. We've got house, somebody in the household, up late at night, possibly waiting for somebody, or heard something outside calling the cat in, I don't know. We've got this, a change, the lookout in the hot air balloon, rising above matters to look at the far outcome of something. So with this house and a change, maybe somebody's moving house, shifting, making a change within the household, the people that are there are coming and going. We have grief and adversity coming out with the angel in the background of this individual who's somewhat sickly with some type of addiction or grief, or some type of even financial fear or burden. Maybe you're afraid of the household income or finance or some such a thing here, or maybe there's an estate here. But it looks like if you can just keep your chin up and keep going, keep picking yourself up and dusting yourself off and taking good care of yourself, a pleasant letter comes out next. So there's good news coming in. And it does look like she's having tea at this time. So I don't know if you have an important date, an important meeting. She kind of looks dressed up. Maybe somebody is going through a healing process but wants to send a new message here. We'll get some more. We've got the marriage card under the deck. That's interesting. So if somebody's drinking away or resisting some type of change, another pre-message that came across was the release of karma is how we go through shifts and changes, how things kind of shake loose. It's like the release of that karmic connection to the attachment to the behavior patterning that doesn't serve. And when we start to try to release that, there's a certain amount of ego resistance that's like, well, the need here, as in the beginning, having realized something, to then admit the core, the root, and then admitting it, correcting it, and revising our connection. Ooh, theft under the deck. So, yeah, somebody may be dealing with some distrustful individuals, or from 2020 with a household estate or something that's been ongoing. Short illness comes out. It's like this puts you in a state of poverty and restriction. Underneath we have rich, good gentleman. This guy's playing chess by himself with a chameleon, perhaps. So this guy also possibly looking for a partner. Anything else on that situation that wants to step forward? We're already at the end of the reading. All right, what's that one? We have work, occupation. I don't know if this is a pairing that comes through the workplace, or somebody who wants to work together or does a similar work. We have military person here as well. I don't know if this is somebody who has been in the military or has links to that in some way, or like martial arts. Did we mention that earlier in this broadcast? Let's see, anything else here? These are some real crazy cards. They don't even have a name as far as I know. So they're pretty interesting. This is a very much a warrior, a very sexy warrior person, very intimidating. That's that Kali energy when she gets riled up and very ferocious and has that energy that she doesn't even know the, I don't want to call them demons, but the forces to be reckoned with that are conjured in the wake of her energy. When you roll with Kali, your energy is crazy. And some of you guys, and I say that not to say about myself. It's like when I use the Kali cards, she's there for a reason. It doesn't mean that you're crazy or, not stable. It means that when you say something, it's felt. And when you are in that powerful state, you can truly rumble the ethers, because that's the transferal process between point A and point B, that quantum leap of information or energetic exchange. When you are coming, people feel your energy in that state. But here we also have this dual side of yourself with this gorgeous, unique, and ferociously self-respecting individual here. And so there's somebody here who is intimidated, and it looks like they want to make the connection. We also have this very Empress-like individual, this very queenly energy. It may be somebody you have some past life connections with, if that's something you subscribe to. Oof, but they've been through it with other individuals. This looks like somebody who's been involved with lower vibrational attachment energies associated with the feminine in the past. And when you become intimidating, you or this individual here